What's going on, Nation? Little late night chat here, Tuesday morning on the East Coast. Coming off an NBA late night cover on the first line, I should say, not the final line. And I think very important stuff. Detroit Gator in the house. What's up, brother? Gonna talk about all sorts of stuff in this conversation. Let's people file on the door. I know we're in the middle of the night here, and I know this is much more of a late night crowd, and I love the late night crowd. Gonna crack a beer, have a beer with you guys, and discuss what's going on. And let's people file on the door. Going to retweet this now, and we will get into the environment. And let me do that before we get in here officially. Otherwise, we'll have a personal chat. And I love you, Detroit Gator, my guy on the desk, I'm assuming. One second, guys. Yes, sir. My guy, appreciate you, man. All right, let's see who's up this hour. All right, taking a breath. Got the lights on. Was just chatting some sports with my guys from BetUS. Big dogs. Big dogs. I want to give a shout out to my guy. Nets Bets in the chat. What's going on, brother? What is up, bro? Cleaning up early season. I love to see it. I'm just trying to adjust as I go. You know, I look at the lines, and I do see a lot of ambiguity early season here, and I think to myself, a little bit of an unknown. Nets, if you don't mind, just drop it in the chat what you're looking at angle-wise, because you're obviously cleaning up. So I'm curious what the psychology of the betting is there. And, you know, we'd love to have you come on the show at one point with Junior. We're doing shows Tuesday, I think, Wednesday, Saturday with Junior on this channel, Sharky Waters Nation YouTube, and we're going to be doing obviously the BetUS shows as well. But you know, there's so many different games that I just personally, I can't say I necessarily miss them, but just weren't really connecting with me. And I was looking at the games tonight, and let me pull up the NBA scoreboard. I was going to talk NFL. Let's talk NBA first. Obviously, the Magic did get there on the line we had, and I do want to make that point. You know, this is very important in NBA basketball. You guys that have told me for years, you know you have to have the right line in NBA basketball, and it's very important. And sometimes that is time sensitive, and it is overnight, and it is not in the middle of the afternoon. So, you know, I can't say anything about it other than the fact that you guys who tell me cash the ticket, and I'm not going to apologize for that. And I think we all need to be getting the best line at all point in time. Anyway, let me open up the NBA here and take a sip of beer. You guys know what I love. It's my new favorite beer. It's an opportunity to enjoy. High Lie should be sponsored at this point. A beautiful one it is. Cheers to you guys on a beautiful Tuesday morning here. And absolutely love this beer. Absolutely enjoy this particular beverage. Going to get a little buzz going. Haven't really drank a lot in the last handful of weeks. Been doing so much work. I got to be honest with you guys. I feel like I've been in the tunnel of work, and it's a blessing to do that much work, honestly. You know, when we were in the quarantine, we were all bored, and we were all sitting around doing nothing. So it's one of those things where I try to reflect on it myself when I'm in it, and I say to myself, you know what? You're blessed to be here, bro. Like, don't take it for granted. You know, don't be a cocky guy like who says like, oh, I'm so busy, like this is stressful. Like, it's good to have work. It's good to get in there and really, you know, fuck around and have a great time. And I do want to give a shout to my guy Sean Green. I said it on the show earlier when we closed out, but you know, Sean has been hosting myself and Junior and Alex Christensen, obviously Noobs, incredibly well. And you know, I don't mean to, you know, say, hey, I'm coaching Sean or anything, because I'm not. Sean's a fucking dog himself, but I know hosting is a unique energy, and I think he's been doing just a great job. So I just wanted to say that on record, and I think he's just doing work, and I'm fucking happy to work with the guy. I think it's fucking really riding out. And when he closed his outro with "Let It Ride," I was like, this has got to be my guy, because I'm fucking sitting here talking about Ride the Wave God of the Water for 5.5 years now. So synchronicity, good energy, whatever it may be. But Sean, if you're watching, you're my guy, and I love to work with you. Let's fucking dominate this season, my man. And um, I think I was cutting out for a second. I apologize. Is the audio better now? I apologize. My internet was slightly sketchy here on the coast of Florida. Bro, what up, son? What up, brother? What's going on, my guy? Maj, what up, bro? Ride the wave out of the water. Let's fucking go. Let me look at what Net said. Net's getting some comments here. Just my normal process. I usually struggle early season, new coaches, new rosters, new rookies, etc. Happy with the start. Obviously, a couple of totals under between. Got that. Been targeting the right favorites. We know I don't play many dogs. Have one with the Nets and small dogs now twice. Picking good spots. Yeah, 100%. No, I agree with you. You gotta look at what's going on in terms of the favoritism in the league and the whole situation. Look at today, for example. I'm pulling up now. I'm not trying to lag out with whatever's going on. Chris Gonzalez, what up, brother? Cheers, man. I'm gonna sit here trying to get a little mini buzz on here for this chat. And you look at the NBA card today. Can't say I really had a handle on it. You guys who have followed me for years, I know I have a lot of new followers. I appreciate you guys immensely. I really open up my cards generally as we go forward into two separate windows. And those windows are late November into December and mid-February into March. And truthfully, what it really is just the way the schedule plays in NBA. For whatever reason, they do schedule teams to play each other in a cluster in the first 3 months. And then oftentimes it totally resets in January. And you see a totally different 3-month cluster where you get the same matchup analysis in December and March, where it's basically these two segregated windows of all the same teams playing each other. So ultimately, I think we're going to make quite a bit of money in December. December and March are huge months. Right now, we're 7-5 on the campaign, sitting on slightly over 1 unit. I can't say I'm displeased. I mean, when you really go through it, it's one of those sports where you can get over mortgaged early, profitably or negatively. In my opinion, I think it's very nice to be kind of in the middle early. And, having suffered some points that were obviously not great, obviously winning most of our spots that were probably the right side. I will say this for the rest of eternity in my life. We don't really luck box wins. When we win, we're on it. We're on the right side. We win. We're not on the wrong side and we get lucky like oftentimes the other side of the market does. So we expect to win. And, when we don't win, oftentimes it is outlierish. And, speaking of outlierish, Stephen Curry is just on this absolute run to start the 2023 campaign. And I can't say I'm not here for it. I love the guy. I think he's an assassin. I think he's a transcendent player, but he's cost me 2 spreads already, so I'm not thrilled with that. But going to quickly adjust to the quality of Stephen Curry this year. I think he's big time, absolutely big time. And I think he's in that Kobe 2007 zone where you're really at the peak of your craft. You're older, you're wiser, but you're still in your prime. And I think that's where it gets to the best point that anybody that ever played basketball can put on record, that quality, where you really are. You've seen the game so deeply. You know exactly what everybody's doing. You're so well crafted, well trained, physically, strategically, emotionally. You have the ability to perform at a high level. And I think Steph Curry is doing that right now. And I'm not entirely sure if it's going to go away this season because, we talked about this last year. It was a tough season for the Dubs coming off a title, little fatigue. The roster was probably not necessarily connected. Jordan Poole being highly enigmatic. And he's off the roster. They bring in Chris Paul. You guys know how much I love Chris Paul. I've been talking about this for years. Chris Paul is one of my favorite NBA players in this generation. I think he's a player coach. I think he's incredibly cerebral. I think he's professional. I think he's mature. He's pretty much the polar utter opposite of Jordan Poole. And you can just see it immediately becoming profitable for this group. And the fact that they're 3-0 ATS in straight up on the road after going just into an absolute dark zone last year early on the road, which truthfully cost them their season. They would not have had to play in the playoffs on the road if they were not so horrible on the road early season. We talked about this. I'm not entirely sure how many of you guys watched the preview issue with BetUS with myself, Alex Christensen, and Sean Green. But we talked about the Dubs and we said, I think a deep intention within this group will be to be better on the road. We said it clearly. If I had just unequivocally trusted that idea, we probably would have backed them all three of the last three nights and cashed three tickets. But NBA capping is not that easy. You can have a great idea and not necessarily put it into fruition, especially when books are unadjusted on the lines too, and telling you a contrarian story on the other side of the game. So, I think that it's interesting to note, but I do think we have to adjust the Dubs very quickly. Right? I think the Dubs are going to be a juggernaut. And I really think that. I think that they got refreshed. They had their bad season. They had, roster enigmatic people, ambiguity, whatever you want to call it. They're rebooted. They're ready to go. And they're pissed off. This is probably their last run, if you will. This is like the Bulls in '98, the last dance. This is the Warriors' last dance this year. And I think, within that conversation, very, very briefly, the last dance, if you guys watched that on Netflix, that was tumultuous. That was chaotic. That was disconnected for the Bulls. Jerry Krause was giving them fucking hell. And this is the opposite. This is this group in the same exact age window without the chaos, with the inspiration, the connection, and the good ownership and general manager group. So I think the Dubs can make some serious, serious noise this year, all the way into June. And we will be here for it every single day, commentating and figuring it out as we go. Petros, what up, brother? Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. No doubt. Maj, what up, bro? Revenge tour for Steph, 100%, no doubt, no doubt. Nets bets looking at Knicks and Suns with significance as we speak. We haven't locked in yet. Knicks have fared well versus Cavs. No Garland, no Allen, no Mitchell. Yeah, yep. I'm right there with you. I haven't gone into detail. I would not disagree. One thing that I noticed that I thought was very interesting is that the Knicks and the Cavs play a home and home Tuesday and Wednesday night. They do play at the Garden on Wednesday night, so I think that we're going to find potentially a matchup tonight, but I think that we're going to find a better matchup on Wednesday night because we're going to have this quick back-to-back, the same teams, almost like a playoff series. And I think we're going to see numbers and narratives in that spot on Wednesday night. So I'm looking at that spot already. I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen tomorrow night or tonight on the East Coast. Pacific time, I think we're still on Monday night here, but I think the next game I'm really looking at with significance. Knicks always good on the road. Cavs likely missing too much. I agree. My only fear is that the Cavs do have the playoff revenge, which is going to hold some weight. You saw it tonight with Milwaukee. Milwaukee obviously laid down yesterday to Atlanta. Looking ahead, I said it. I didn't play it, and I'm still figuring it out. I think that we all personally have mild apprehension in betting early season. I certainly do. I try to be careful. Especially when I'm branching out into first quarters and first halves. Milwaukee did cover the first half. They didn't cover the first quarter. So within that, bet structure trifecta idea, we would have gone 2-1 if we had gone trifecta Milwaukee tonight. I had looked at the line functionality. I thought it was sharp. It ended up being very sharp. The line was 7.5 final, finished at 8. Certain games are just early season, very well graded and just slightly ambiguous. Just we're trying to figure out what teams are doing. Teams have so many different moving parts, players, coaches, motivational points, scheduling points, whatever. I was talking to the guys, and I want to keep giving these guys a shout because I really appreciate these guys. Chris Farley, Junior Brown, and Noops, along with Sean Green. We were chatting the other night. We were saying, on Saturday night, I believe that every single rest advantage team did cash. I believe 6-0. Nets bets. You could probably confirm that. I think you bet on the weekends more than I do. Not necessarily Sunday, but Saturday. I believe there were very, very egregious calendar spots in the NBA where you had 6 out of 7 games where one team was on full rest and the other team was on some sort of back-to-back situation. And I'm pretty sure the rest advantage team covered all 6. And that is just classic NBA where the rest advantage speaks directly towards it. I work with Jay Money for 3 seasons, Ski Profit. That's exactly what they look at. They don't look at the numbers as much. They look at psychological and emotional environments. I would be shocked if Jay Money and Ski Profit did not win at least 5 units on Saturday night, just based on that. And again, that's no shade to those guys. I love those guys. They don't love me because who knows, but I love those guys. They're fucking sharp. They're smart guys. And that is their angle. That is their angle. And, when you see that clean house on Saturday night, I saw it. I actually commented to the guys. I was like, wow, shit, we should have fucking taken all those spots. Of course, we were on Minnesota with a 1 unit play, but we didn't have the other 5. And I was like, wow, I guess it is that easy. And but just going through the card tonight, obviously Dubs absolutely hammering the Pelicans 130 to 102. I'll never sit here and complain about line function, or excuse me, about load management. You guys saw the show with Jay for 3 years. I always let load management be what it is. It's NBA basketball. It's going to continue forever. But I will say this, of course, it is very annoying. You're capping a game, and then all of a sudden Brandon Ingram is not playing 1 hour before the game. And I've talked about this now, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. At some point, you just get mortgaged out into the unknown, and there's not a whole lot you can do. We can't necessarily sit here and wait until a half an hour before the game to place bets. It's just impractical. Forget about doing a show. That is totally impractical. But in terms of actually handicapping the game, you're walking off the plank at 7:30 p.m. in an 8 o'clock game. You have no information. You're rushing. It's just unsustainable. So the whole point is just this load management stuff, and it's not even necessarily load management. It's actually injury report manipulation. There has to be some sort of announcement at some sort of reasonable hour just for the market to readjust and analyze the game. And when, like you guys know, I don't hedge. I rarely ever hedge. I think I've hedged 2 bets in the last 2 years. But you definitely don't feel good about it. It's total disruption, and it clearly was disruption. 130 to 102, an absolute blowout. So, what are you going to do? Sometimes shit happens like that. Yeah, that's interesting. You said you crush NBA Sundays because we always took off on Sundays. And Jay would say stuff, and I would say stuff, and this whole fucking thing. Like, truthfully, like I would always take off NBA Sundays, so I barely ever handicap them. So I don't even know if I'm good or bad on Sundays. And last year I capped 2 Sundays. I think I went maybe 2 and 3. And you guys remember the whole thing last year. People were giving me a hard time, and I'll just be honest. People were giving me a hard time last year. Like my DMs were flooded with all sorts of bullshit. And, it wasn't necessarily like it got to me from the standpoint that I woke up every day in a bad place, but it just became very, very invasive. Where I remember trying to handicap Sundays last year. People were hitting me up being like, "Shark, you're overthinking. You're doing this and that. Boom, boom, boom." 50 DMs, and I'm, guys, let me fucking cap the games. And it got to a certain point where I was like, this is just too overwhelming, and it's just ridiculous. But I'm so blessed to be here now with you guys in this season in a totally new environment where feeling great. I think we're gonna have a great season, and I firmly believe that. Last year was the first losing season in 5 years, and we lost 10 units. So, how bad was it really? We were down 32 units in a month. And the rest of the season, we were up 22 units. So, it is what it is. We analyze the same way always. It's psychological analysis. It's numerical analysis. It is what it is. You lose 32 units in a month, you're probably not going to have the best season. I said this before, but it's like, a baseball player hitting, 0 for 70 in April. He's probably not going to bat for the batting title that year. Does it mean he's a bad hitter? Does it mean he's going to have the rest of his career? No. He had a bad month. So it is what it is. And I think people need to realize that. And I think anybody who listens to me and connects with me, and most of you guys who listen to these chats, and I appreciate you guys immensely for the sustainable quality you guys have. We know what's going on here. It's just the periphery with the bullshit. And it is what it is. But that's just the dead out facts. It was 1 month that was really hellacious, if I'm being honest. And then we bounced back. We got in there. So it is what it is. Yeah, for sure, brother. For sure. We take a sip of water, guys. A lot going on here, guys. A lot going on. So psyched to be talking to you guys here just about NBA basketball. It feels like I can't believe we're back, really. I really can't believe we're back. It's been a long summer. It's 3.5 months, but it feels like forever. I feel like, when you look back on time, Sean was talking about earlier, time, what's time? I mean, great Hootie and the Blowfish song. Great fucking song, but don't let me sing. I'm not a good singer, but it's great to be back in the NBA and see what's going on. I just was looking at the board tonight. I was thinking to myself, when Sean said, what's the best play on the board? I was going back and forth. Obviously, I love the Pelicans. Margin won 4 times last year at home. Of course, you don't want to be necessarily trend betting sustainable like that and that and that. But I mean, it was hard not to back the Pelicans tonight. The number was all over it. The situation was all over it. What are you going to do? Love the Magic tonight. Obviously, did cash the ticket, thankfully. Obviously, very tight on the number. And that's 2 straight games in crypto with the Magic that were very tight. Last year, 111, 105, -5.5 hook cover Lakers. This is +4 Lakers, 1 point cover Magic. And just nice to see the Magic come through for us because clearly that was the right side. They outcompeted them the entire game. The energy was there. Obviously, Lakers making more shots, got the win. But, that's a snapshot to, competitive professionalism. That's a snapshot to, competitive quality and championship quality with the Lakers. And the Magic's still trying to figure it out. But regardless, they covered. So here we are having a conversation. And, tomorrow, incredibly small card. Really hard to discuss, honestly. I want to talk about football, and I do want to segue into some football talk here because I do think the NBA card tomorrow is pretty much a toss on most angles. I was talking to Chris and talking to Noobs and talking to Sean. They're going to be doing a show at 12 o'clock on BetUS. And we were trying to figure out, what the angles were. They were making comments. They like the Knicks in some capacity. Not entirely sure what's going on there. As I mentioned, I think the Knicks game on Wednesday, where you get 2 straight between the Cavs and the Knicks, home and road, that's your spot. And that's what you really hone in on in terms of data abundance, where we're going to have a lot of information on Wednesday without a shadow of a doubt. It doesn't get better than that. It's the first home and home of the entire season in the NBA. So I think I'm going to be pouncing on that, whatever the reactionary point is on Wednesday afternoon. Detroit Gator Lions, baby. Cheers up, fears down. Let's fucking go. And want to talk some pro ball, though. Pro football, that is. And I want to talk next week if you guys have any questions, if anybody's chatting football, or if we're just keeping it basketball. Anybody want to talk football? I've had my eye on football, and this is where we're going to be doing. This is what pretty much the template of what we're going to be doing, for years to come here, where we go really detailed into football through December, and then NBA really starts to become profitable right around probably like November 20th, I would say. I do think we're probably going to be up 5 to 10 units by November 20th, and I think we're probably going to be up 25 units by January 1st. I think we're going to really go from there. And, one thing that really put me into a tough position last year is that I felt like I had never really been under some sort of public microscope or pressure point where I think I was forcing bets. And, I look back on it last year and I think to myself, I think I was feeling a lot of pressure, honestly. And I think I made some mistakes and it got us in a hole. And, not entirely just making mistakes. Petros and I were having a conversation about this off the record. And he was saying, we lost, I believe, out of the 32-unit downswing last year, I would say at least half the bets, which was easily 25 to 30 bets in that period, were legitimately disgusting melts and hooks and just horrendous beats. So it was this agglomeration of the wrong reads, maybe some pressure, maybe some forces, and then when you compound on top of that, really, really tough variance where you're losing almost every single coin flip and backdoor in a small window. That's when you lose a lot in a small window. And it's unfortunate, but as I mentioned, I appreciate you guys staying the course with us. And if you did, you ended up profiting in the rest of the season significantly, and you profited all summer. I'm pretty sure people have not lost any money with Sharky Waters Nation since December 15th last year. And that's actually not pretty sure. That's a certifiable fact. So, we're very profitable long term. I went on a podcast with Rob Pizzola and these guys. Great conversation. And it was intriguing, just the perception, because I will say this, these guys are great guys. However, they had a perception that I was somehow a losing bettor that was only making money off content. And I thought that was very interesting, just in terms of how public perception can be so small window, where you could be the best bettor in the world. I'm not saying I'm the best bettor in the world, but I will say this. You could be highly, highly successful for a long period of time and have one really poor sample for about a month. And all of a sudden, people just quickly flip the narrative that you are horrendous and you've always been horrendous. And then they run with it. And that's exactly how they connect with the image of you in their mind. And you, as the public personality, have to overwork yourself to correct that image. And I think I've been dealing with that for the last year and a half. And of course, the image is something. People always say, Shark, just, you know, relax, like focus on the picks. The thing that I always want to make the point is that this is a media channel. So it is image, like it's very important. Like I have to reset the professionalism and the quotient of win rate and the level of analysis. And, I've always done it, but, you make mistakes for a month of your life. Apparently you get held down forever. So I've been grinding my ass off to get in there. And, just a little psychological point there, a little self-awareness point. I love to discuss it with you guys. I think that's one of the things that I love to do more than the average person. It's just tell you guys exactly how I feel, and it's something that is just within me. I will never hold back. I will always tell you exactly how I feel, and I'm just being genuinely honest. I think that last year I felt a lot of pressure. I was forcing, and there was a lot of expectation. I was in a tough spot. Shit went wrong real quick, clustered, and then public narrative shifted. And it was the first time in my entire life that I had people coming down pretty aggressively on me from a public narrative standpoint. Nobody is prepped for that. You don't learn that in school. So, if you have a public image and you're a person and you start getting really negative shit on you for the first time in your life, you're gonna react. You just don't know how to react. It's like going to war for the first time. Everybody's coming at you. You're like, whoa, I wasn't ready for this. And that's pretty much what happened last year. So don't want to harp on that. I don't want to, be too long-winded on that. But the free flow of conversation is what it is. Gonna take a sip of beer, guys. Cheers up, fears down. And people cooking out. I understand people cooking out. You're not sitting here listening for a fucking therapy session. But it is Sharky Waters Nation. Conversation wins. Cheers, guys. And yeah, rolling up some, my guy. 100%, brother. 100%. And it's so far in the past. In my life, that feels like 5 years ago. Not one. It feels like 5 years ago. And but I just make the comment publicly because I know most people, get stuck in the past in terms of what they're thinking, what's going on. Let me retweet this, guys. Anybody hanging out? Anybody having a beer? My guy rolling one up, perhaps. Let me just retweet this, guys. That was like the commercial break right there. Um, anyway, let's talk a little football here, guys. Leans for tomorrow in the NBA. I haven't gone into detail. I think it's going to be tough, honestly. I want to talk some pro ball here. I dropped 3 plays already. We got the Chiefs in Frankfurt at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Sunday morning. Absolutely love this play. Oh, James Harden just got traded. Wow. 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 Well, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Like I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if he's, going to bring a weird energy and like a need for whatever. I don't even know. I don't even know. Let me marinate on that. I don't know. Um, Rolling upset, my guy says Steelers money line if it drops to 140. Um, this Thursday night football game. Let's talk about that. This is something that I find to be, I think, fairly applicable here. I do lean the Steelers here, guys. I think if you look at the Steelers outside of the division, I think that the line is telling you a very good story. This is their 3rd outside of the division game at home this year. They got hammered by the Niners. Key point, Niners -3 against. Last week, Jacksonville -2.5 against. First time this year they're favored in an out of division home game. And I think that this Will Levis narrative that's quickly developing, and it's going to be all week. Will Levis was dropping dimes last week. Will Levis looked like Aaron Rodgers in 2009. Cool was the other side of the pillow. Shout out to Stuart Scott up there. Big dogs. But I mean, Will Levis was just dropping the cleanest looking, like teardrop passes, like the arc, the softness, beautiful. And you know what I think? I think that the Falcons have a terrible defense. I think the Falcons don't travel well. I think the Falcons were on a road back to back off a divisional win. I think the Falcons weren't taking a rookie quarterback seriously. I think the guy's talented as shit, but I think this is where it gets tough. And I think this is why the Steelers are favored. I think you get a short week off a huge win, emotional high, first career start, 4 touchdown passes, one of the best debuts of all time. Now you go on the road outside of the division in this horrible spot. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm leaning towards the Steelers, guys. And you guys know I don't like the Steelers. So if I like the Steelers, you should listen. And I'm telling you guys, this is the opposite of what we've been fading on the Steelers every single week. We've been fading the Steelers with better opponents where the Steelers were getting lucky. This is the first time this year at home the Steelers are actually the better team. It's the first time all year they're favored. And again, people are going to fall in love with the Will Levis narrative. I would too if it was myself 10 years ago. But I think analytically, this is a Steelers spot. And I think that this is where the Steelers probably do win this game. If we can get this line under 2.5, we're going to be on the Steelers. I believe. I have not placed the bet yet, but I'm looking at the Steelers. When I look at this board, I said I like the Steelers, the Chiefs, the Commanders, the Saints, and the Rams. And I'm waiting to see what's going on with Matthew Stafford because I think it's a great Rams spot. Great Rams spot. The Rams have functioned really well in this position. We backed them going back to week 3 or 4 at Indianapolis as a small dog outside of the division on the road. This is the same thing. Small dog outside of the division on the road. And Green Bay, I've said this every week. I'll continue to say it. I think Green Bay is not very good. I think Jordan Love's not very good. I think that people are just in love with the Packers because of the Packers. And I think that the Rams are going to bounce back. I think Dallas has clearly proved that they are very good at home outside of the division. They smoked the Patriots. They smoked the Jets. They smoked the Rams. Almost the same game. A lot of points Dallas, not a lot of points opponent. And just very, very dominant on both sides of the ball. But, you go to the other environment for those opponents, they function in a much better light, after getting hammered by Dallas. And I think the Rams bounce back here. Not only that game at Indianapolis was a road back-to-back sequence off a non-cover the previous week. Rams proved they can function well in this environment. The only problem is we just don't know if Stafford is going to play. And if he's not going to play, it takes the entire conversation outside of reasonable window, ultimately. And, if he doesn't play, the line will probably get up to, minus 5.5, minus 6.5, maybe not even 6.5, because I think books are so downgraded on Green Bay. I think books believe what I believe, that Green Bay isn't very good. I think even if Stafford is ruled out, this might not even get higher than 5.5, honestly. But I do like the Rams this week. I'm just waiting to see if Stafford plays. I think the Packers are fool's gold. I think the Packers are truly not very good, and I think that the coach is not very good. I think he was propped up by late career Aaron Rodgers. I think the quarterback's not very good. I think the team in general is average at best outside of the quarterback and the head coach. Their wins this year were incredibly unimpressive against bottom feeders, if you want to call them that. I think the Rams are not a bottom feeder. I think the Rams are a scrappy group with a much better head coach. I think also in terms of this league and this sport, coaching is just absolutely integral. When you look at a matchup between Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay is a much better coach strategically, psychologically. Not only that, Sean McVay will want to beat his peer, Matt LaFleur, I believe the guy he used to work with in some context. They're coming off a blowout loss on the road, going back, bounce back spot. I'm so high on this. That's why I'm talking about it, because I think it's a great spot. I'm just honestly waiting to see what's going on with Matthew Stafford. If Matthew Stafford was not injured and we were getting this at +3, I would have already bet this 12 hours ago when I was looking at the games. Rams are a great spot, and we're going to see it this week yet again. I'll say it right here on Tuesday morning. You're going to see this yet again across Twitter, and you're going to see this across mainstream media. People are going to back the Packers. They love the Packers. They can't get out of their mind. The big G, the green G. This is a great team. They're a great team. Blah, blah, blah. It's fool's gold. Aaron Rodgers propped up the franchise for 15 years. It's not a good team. And books are unadjusted. It's not a good team. You don't want to back the Packers. And I see guys doing it every week. And I think to myself, I wish I could get in the mind of those people and just quickly adjust some screws in their mind and let them become more clear as to what is going on with the Packers. I see it every week, and it blows my mind. But nothing blows my mind in this life, to be honest with you, because I think people are just mind-blowingly insane in so many ways. And when I see people back in the Packers last week, I said, they're doing it again. They're doing it fucking again. They can't get out of their way. And they were back in the Steelers last week, too. Steelers were hot last week. Patriots are always hot. It's all these fucking teams. Like, how do people not understand? It's not about a uniform color and a helmet. It's about personnel. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, 3 of the best to ever do it. How are we still talking about these teams as if they have those quarterbacks? Like, guys, it's like second grade math. Like, how are we so unadjustable as people? Like, how are we so unequivocally caught in the past, always, as a human race? Like, how are we always caught in the past? Like, how can we not get better? And it's like, guys, this is not like complicated. You take the 3 best quarterbacks of a generation off the teams that sustained for 15 to 20 years, they're not going to be good. It's not about the fucking jersey color. And like you would say this to handicappers, they get so pissed off, because they're fucking insecure as all hell. They're so insecure. But you say that to them, they'd be like, well, what about this, this, and that, blah, 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 the DVOA, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, fuck that DVOA. Fuck your bullshit. This team sucks. They lost the 3 best quarterbacks of the generation. They weren't good before, and they're not good after. The Patriots were horrendous for 30 years before. And, I mean, you just look at what's going on. It's just absolutely insane. And I just see it every week. I get passionate. I'm just fucking around with you guys. Like, if we were sitting at the Borgata, we're down, at the bar at the Aria, just hanging out. Like, I'm just shooting the shit. This is what I do in real life. I just fucking sit around, drink beers, shoot the shit. So it's fun to discuss. I'm not trying to insult anybody because I know people are probably back those teams. So I love you guys. We're just shooting the shit. But it still blows my mind, like how people convince themselves that these teams are still representative in some way. And you guys know I've been fading them every week. I think we've cashed like 80% of tickets fading these teams. And we're fading them again this week. We got Washington at +3. Washington is great on the road. They're great in all environments on the road. And this is the thing with the Patriots. People want to buy the Patriots as a bounce back, some sort of shit. It's not like that. Washington's a better football team. Washington has better personnel on the defensive side of the ball. They have better personnel on the offensive side of the ball. They have better skill positions. They have better running backs. They have a better offensive line. They have better wide receivers. And they have a better quarterback. Sam Howell can sling the rock. I mean, if you look at what happened last week at Philadelphia, he's 2-0 ATS, or actually he's not. Pushed last week, but depending on the line, whatever. 2 competitive games against the ex-champs. This guy is absolutely legit. If you actually watch the game, I was watching the 4th quarter. The final touchdown pass he threw was just a dart, a laser. He can deliver the rock. He's far better than Mac Jones. And people want to sit here and they want to talk about Mac Jones having bad personnel, bad O-line, bad scheme, and just getting rushed at all points in time. That is absolutely true. However, I think regardless of that, Sam Howell is a better quarterback. I think he delivers the ball with more accuracy, better velocity, better spin rate. I think he reads the defense better. I think he has a better competitive makeup about him. I think he has a better energy in the locker room. I think Mac Jones, to a certain degree, is a little bit of a whining type of guy. I think Sam Howell is going to carry them to a victory on the road in Foxborough this week. That's why we're on at +3. And gonna reopen the chat, guys. I'm getting fired up here. When you start to talk about illogical betting, it's when I get really hyped up and I go on my rants. So cheers to you guys. Appreciate you guys. A couple other games here I think are super interesting. Obviously, I mentioned the Chiefs in Frankfurt. I'm not entirely sure if that's the first time they've ever played there. I think it probably is. I'm pretty sure this is the first showcase in Germany. Could be wrong. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. But I think when you look at the Dolphins specifically, the Dolphins just have not functioned well against playoff caliber teams, and I think that the Dolphins are very polarized to the quality of the opponent, um, like truly fool's gold, if you will. We're probably not going to have this conversation because we'll be on there at 10 a.m. Excuse me, guys. A little carbonation always gets in there. But we'll be on there at 10 in the morning when this game's going on Sunday morning. So we'll have a nice little live sweat. Except for we won't because we don't do that. We fucking ride it out. But if you look at the Dolphins are 4-0 ATS at home against arguably four of the worst teams in the league: Denver, Carolina, New York Giants, and the Patriots. They've already covered twice against the Patriots. They backdoor covered the Chargers, who were always sketchily right on the line, and I would say to a certain degree mediocre. So if you really go spot-specific analysis with the Dolphins, they covered against equal mediocrity. I will say this. I think the Dolphins are a mediocre football team. And it's a relative comment. Relative comment. They're not mediocre from the standpoint that a lot of the league is actually bad this year. This is one of the first years in a long time that a lot of the league is legitimately bad. So it props up mediocre teams. Historically, a team like Miami falls more into the middle ground as opposed to the elite ground. There's just so many bad teams this year, they appear better. So blowout against Denver, blowout against Carolina, blowout against the Giants, blowout against the Patriots twice. They're only environments of this quality. At the Bills, hammered 48-20. At Philadelphia, hammered by margin. And now you go to the same environment. Chiefs, same line. And you're in Frankfurt. Chiefs are off a blowout loss to the Broncos. They clearly looked ahead. They were cratering down towards it. We had talked about this for weeks. They're cratering towards a loss. I took the Chargers on the road at Kansas City 2 weeks ago. I thought the Chargers would get them. Chargers really had so many opportunities, just drive after drive in the fourth quarter, third quarter. They just couldn't get there. They ended up losing by 14 points on a 5.5. But the Chiefs were coming down. And the point is, they bottomed out. 9 points against the team they had beaten, I believe, 14 or 15 times in a row. That was the absolute bottom point. Now, the beauty of this is that when a team does finally bottom out, now they open up a new window to come north in their efficiency. And this is where it happens. This is absolutely where it happens. They will be turned up. They will be angry. They will be focused. And they will be renewed. Because one of the psychological things about when you bottom out, and I think a lot of you guys know what I'm talking about in your personal life. It could be with yourself. It could be with fitness, work, grind, something. You can kind of sense yourself teetering on the edge of just like a bottom out. And that's not bad because you're a human being. Everybody has a cap. You can only work so hard. But when you feel yourself going down to that point, you're going to bottom out. Just understand yourself. That's where you are in your small window arc statistically for yourself. And you say, I'm bottoming out. I got to stop. Like for me, it's like, I got to like take a quick break. I got to like go for a walk. I got to like sit down, go out to dinner, have a couple of drinks, just do something else for like 2 days. And I know a lot of people run into this. And when you hit your cap, just allow that to be the cap in that window and say, okay, that was that window. And I was really high and I really succeeded and I put in a ton of work. I could sense myself waning and just kind of going down a little bit. That was it. Then you bottom out, take a quick break, you wake up. Key point is now you have a new window and your energy is totally rejuvenated. And that's how sports teams are. When you see them cratering down and they actually bottom out in a definitive way, they actually psychologically are released upon their own burden of that systemized scale they were on emotionally and physically. So now they reopen a new window. And people always say, well, how are they going to bounce back? I firmly believe, having experienced life now for 40 years, deeply self witnessing myself and other people, it's not like that. When you open up a new window, like when you really cap yourself and crater down off of a certain scale of energy, that's it for that window. And you're like, that was good work. Now I'm going to break and now I'm going this direction. You're like a reborn person. So it has nothing to do with the other week. And that's the thing people oftentimes don't understand, particularly when they evaluate professional athletes. Professional athletes are human beings. So they might seem like they're coming off of a shitty loss that like somehow is a reflection on them. That was like the death of that window for them. Like they let all the bullshit go in that game. Like everything was just let out. And now they get to completely open up a new window. And honestly, it couldn't get any better. If you want to talk about psychology, you left just this horrible, stank, stale energy. You've been playing like shit for weeks. And you finally just got your ass beat in Denver, divisional game, 15 revenge game, whatever, cold weather, shitty weather, before Germany, the whole thing. Talk about the best place to like let all your demons come out and just fucking release it. And then that's it. You're released. It's like, you go to church, you have a confessional, you feel released. Like that was the confessional for the Chiefs last week. Like they had been playing like ass for 7 weeks and they let it all out. Now they're reborn and they get to go to Germany. It's a different country. It's the first time they ever played there. They get to play against a high flying offense. Apparently the narrative is that, the Dolphins are coming for them in the AFC. Huge narrative, huge competitive moment. The crowd's going to be super live. The media's all over it. They're going to feel so free. They're going to ball out. And this is where it's a beautiful thing to take the Chiefs this week. So there you go. 10 minutes of psychology on the Chiefs. Cheers to us. And I think I covered all the games that we're looking at. It's crazy, but this week, if you look at the board, 90% of the games are under 5 points. And it's going to be a tight week. And this week is very much situational analysis on these teams and trying to figure out who plays well in different spots. A lot of tight games coming this week. There's no way around it. And it's going to be really, really difficult. I'm going to say this now for you guys that are watching this. I firmly believe this is one of the most difficult weeks of the season so far. I think we're on all the right spots. I think Pittsburgh is the look on Thursday night. I'm waiting for the line. Love the Saints to hammer the Bears. I think the Saints are just a great, great buy. Really like Washington and do really like the Chiefs. So those are the top 3 spots. Chiefs -2.5, Saints -7. That's going to get steamed up. Get that now. And what was the other one I said? Washington on the road. Washington, far better team than New England. Functions great on the road. New England, poor home as a favorite against the NFC. Those are the 3 spots. This is a tough board, so I'm not saying like this is going to be like anything bad. Those spots are great. Everything else is highly ambiguous. I like the Rams if Stafford plays. I do like the Steelers. Those are the top 5 spots. Top 5 spots are Steelers, Rams, Chiefs, Saints, Commanders, and whatever the final one was that I failed to mention there. I don't even know. What do I say? Who knows? If anybody's got any comments in the chat, 10 guys in the chat. Appreciate you guys. Drop comments. Going to sit here. We'll take some comments now. Just marinating. Want to give you guys some fire on the NBA or the NFL card this week. What was the one I failed to mention there on my little mini recap? Saints, Commanders, Rams, Steelers, Chiefs. Oh, that's it. That's the 5. Yeah, that's the 5. The Seahawks Ravens is going to be a sick toss. Sick toss. One of the most like just disgusting lines you can ever find in the sport is -5.5 for a home team outside of the division. It's so sharp and just like so well graded. Like that game should be such a toss. Bucks Texans is so gross. Colts Panthers is so gross. Falcons Vikings, new quarterback, awful, just awful. Cowboys, Eagles on a 3 on a 46, awful, like awful. I mean, we're talking so sharp, so sharp. Bengals, Bills -3, so sharp. Um, really, like it's crazy this week. Like you're looking at -3 Bengals, Bills, -3 Eagles, Cowboys, Raiders, Giants -4, Colts, Panthers -2.5, Texans, Bucks -2.5, Ravens, Seahawks -5.5, Pats, Commanders -3, Green Bay, Rams -3. Atlanta -4.5, KC -2.5, Pitts -3.5, Chargers -3. Like almost every single game this week is a 3-point game. Like it's a sick week, and there are so many out of division games, so many teams that are graded similarly. That's why I said there's a lot of bad teams in the sport right now, and I'm not lying. There's a lot of bad teams in the sport right now, and they're playing each other. And not only that, the good teams are playing each other this week too, crazily enough. So we talk about discrepancy where you want to find teams that are maybe buy low, sell high, not when the same teams are playing each other. Not when the good teams are all playing each other and the bad teams are all playing each other. And there's sort of like this similar movement towards each other. And, you know, it's just a wild week. It's a wild fucking week. It's a sick week, really. It really is sick. Philly's, I looked at the line functionality. Philly's supposed to win this game by pretty much exactly 3 points. It's a revenge game. They lost last year in Dallas, 40-34, I believe. Dallas was favored -1.5. This opened up at -2.5, which is literally a 4-point gap. Speaking to a 1-point victory on a 3, so it's supposed to be 3.5 on the final, and it's 46, which is also short. And I think that this game, it's actually kind of gross because you don't want to bet an under between the Birds and the Cowboys. But I think the sharpest look in this game is the under. And again, it's one of those things where like if you're a sports fan, you just purely do not want to bet unders in big games because you don't want to, like, you want the game to end. And that's kind of how it is with me, honestly. Like I've gotten to a certain point with betting where like if I feel like the under is the right side in a game that I want to watch and enjoy, particularly with pro football, where it's once a week, we only get them, 18 times in the fall. I just won't bet it. But I think the best spot in that game is the under. So for those of you guys who want to sweat it and don't mind unders, I think the under in the Dallas game is the right play. Dallas just lit up the Rams for 40 plus points. As we said, they've just been like crushing these out of division opponents at home. The Birds have been scoring. They just went over huge on the road at Washington. It's an under spot for sure. The sharp angle in that game is an under. And I think you're going to see a tight line. It's going to be a tight spot, but I think an under is probably the best look in that game. As I said, I don't like it though. I don't want to watch that game and root for non-points. I want to see it in a competitive game. So, at some point, sometimes in the NFL, not frequently, but sometimes, if I want to watch a game because I'm very interested in that game, truthfully, I don't even care about the money in that game. I'd rather watch the game. But the under is the sharp side in that game for sure. Couple other games here we can discuss briefly. I think Giants Raiders is absolutely disgusting from a betting standpoint. I think the Giants we don't even know who's starting for the Giants. The Raiders look horrible. The last time the Raiders laid 3.5 points at home against the Patriots, they basically pushed the line. They won 21-17. It was highly ambiguous. I think it's very difficult. The Bengals Bills is a really interesting game. Obviously, that last year that the teams played, the game was suspended. It was the Damar Hamlin game. And I think that this game, in my opinion on this one, this is another game that I don't really want to bet. But I think that the over is probably the good look here. I think that these teams are going to explode on offense. And I think the Bills, this is what they do. They kind of just hover around the mediocre opponents. They don't play good ball. They've played poor ball for 4 weeks now, maybe 5, I think 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And then they show up. in the moments. Just what they do. And they give you all the sound bites. They give you all the talking points. We're working on it. We're doing this. It's like they'll never tell you we just don't really take the moment seriously. It's pretty much sustainable on record now for 2 or 3 seasons. If the opponent's not elite, they just don't take the moment seriously. And the minute they get put onto a really big opponent like this, they play well. And they play that aggressive, fast-paced style of offense. They really, really just push the pace downfield. They're not waiting around ever to score. They're not milking clock. It's very, very advanced, aggressive offense. I think the Bengals will be forced to match that pace. And I think, 8 o'clock, 8:20 p.m. here in Cincinnati, people want to talk about these primetime unders. It's going to reverse at some point. This would be the spot. I think this is going to be a high, not necessarily a high-scoring game like college, like disrespectful football, but I think this will be a professional game, like a Super Bowl type of game. I think it'll be back and forth. I think it'll probably finish like 31-27 or something like that, and you'll get over it in Sunday Night Football. And anyway, going to wrap it up on that, guys. Just giving you guys the commentary, the feed, the fire, the love, the respect. 55, 56 minutes in here. Not much more to say. Tuesday morning here on the East Coast. Still not even midnight. Tuesday on the West Coast. Across the world, across the universe. Appreciate you guys so much. Sending you guys all the best vibes. Chat was fire. Detroit getting my guy rolling up. Son, keep rolling it up. Anthony Rosica, what's up, brother? And Nets Bets, of course, in the house, crushing the NBA in the early season. We'll be on here tomorrow with some commentary. Junior and I will be on here Wednesday afternoon. I will be doing a show with the Dutch, first time ever on Pub Sports Radio, NBA Talk. Dutch and the Shark getting on there for some fire Wednesday. We'll be firing that off. And as I mentioned, NFL looking great. Week 9 will be great. And top plays already discussed in this chat. That's why you guys watch early week. Get the early lines. They'll help you out profitably long term. And it's very important. We don't cap CLV because we're looking at the lines to beat the lines. We're looking at the environment psychologically and numerically. However, getting the right line is very important to cash tickets long term. So appreciate you guys so much. Sending you guys all the best vibes. Have a great night. We'll see you guys in the afternoon. Sharky Waters Nation. Night Waters Lifestyle. Ride the wave without a water. Let's go.